I don't know about you guys, okay, but I'm still pretty bummed out that we're not going to be getting any DLC or any post-launch content for Marvel Spider-Man 2. It's sad to boot up that game and know there's not going to be any DLC. Hell, there's not even going to be any more suits added. Come on, Insomniac, something, give me something. But you know, ever since we got that confirmation that there's not going to be any DLC for the game, I haven't really had a chance to sit down and talk with you guys about basically everything we know now that's been teased for Spider-Man 3. We used to think of a lot of stuff that was going to be DLC that we now know is probably going to be saved for the next Spider-Man game. So I figured, let's sit down and let's wrap in a neat little bow everything that's been teased so far for Marvel Spider-Man 3. If you're hyped to see where this franchise goes next, if you're excited for the day that we're going to see that reveal for Spider-Man 3, well then hit that thumbs up button. Let's get into this. So the first one is obvious, okay? And this was the one that, again, we all thought was gonna be for a DLC or an expansion that was gonna take place after Spider-Man 2 had launched. We now know that's not going to be the case, and it comes from that side mission in the game. One of my favorite side missions I played in a superhero game, and it pertains to Carnage and Rape. You know, there's this whole cult, you're trying to figure out what's going on, and then you see this guy that, like, fits the bill for one Cletus Cassidy, and then it gets officially revealed that's exactly who he is. He has a symbiote in his possession. It started to turn red when he said that he was going to bring death and carnage. But I am wondering, you know, how does that vial of the symbiote survive after the end of the game? So I'm wondering if we're going to see Carnage in Spider-Man 3. I hope there's an explanation as to how exactly that happened. Was it because it was in that vial that it didn't feel the effects of all the symbiotes dying or whatever? I don't know. I guess we're going to have to wait and see. But there was obviously something left open-ended there. I mean, hell, even when I interviewed Brian Intihar for Spider-Man 2, he did very much say to me, you know, there are some things that we left open, you know, like any Marvel project, we try to tease what we might do next. There's also been rumors and, you know, talks of a Venom game, so this very well could be something that they save for the potential Venom game if Insomniac is making one, but that's a big if. We don't know or have any official confirmation on that, so if it does end up happening, yeah, okay, Carnage stuff, probably saved for a Venom game. If that's not happening, Carnage most likely saved for a Spider-Man 3. And then it's also going to be interesting to see where they take Peter's relationship with Wraith next in that following game as well. And sticking in the conversation to side missions, one of the other really fun side missions in the game is when you're chasing around those drones around the city. And, you know, for the longest time we're all playing this, I don't know if anybody else had this experience, but I was like, well, what is this leading to? And eventually, like, after you had done like 2 or 3 of them, it just hit. I was like, oh, I see what's happening now. We can't track this person that we're looking for. He's like a random civilian sometimes. What's happening here? And then it's like, all right, oh, we're doing Chameleon 100%. And they even made it so that, yes, this is the version of Chameleon that is related to Kraven. And then, you know, there's the big payoff at the end of the side mission. Chameleon is watching us. He is out there, so they're going to be doing something with the character in the next game. Maybe they're going to keep him as a side mission as well, but I'm very intrigued to see what they do with Chameleon going forward. We haven't really gotten a whole lot of Chameleon as a villain for Spider-Man in media, so I'm glad to see that he's back and he's in this game. And you know, before we get to some of the other things that were directly hinted at in the post-credit scenes for Spider-Man 2, I wanted to talk about some Easter eggs, and I wanted to talk about some proof that I have that they might go somewhere with these Easter eggs. You see, there was one that a lot of people had found. I'm not going to say that I'm the original one who found this, but there was an Easter egg that people had found, that the Fisk Tower that we knew from Spider-Man PS4 and Spider-Man Miles Morales has changed in Spider-Man 2. If you go to what was originally Fisk Tower and you walk up to the rooftop, you'll actually see that they're painting a 4 on there. And yes, if you go down to the bottom of the building, you can see that it is now the Baxter Building. The Fantastic Four are moving into town. And now usually this is just a small little Easter egg, a hint for the fans. You know, maybe they're not going to do anything with this. But way back when Marvel's Spider-Man 2 had launched, and I tweeted out this Easter egg, Brian Intihar himself, the man himself, replied to my tweet with a GIF that says, "That's really interesting." And I feel like, you know, him reaching out directly and him kind of hinting that there might be more to this than we know could mean that when we get to a Spider-Man 3, they're gonna have something. Maybe they're gonna bring back the racing Human Torch around the city missions. Or maybe, you know, there's just gonna be some sort of thing with the Fantastic Four. They don't have to have like a big spot in the final act. You know, it's not gonna be like the Fantastic Four teaming up with Spider-Man to fight Doc Ock and Green Goblin. But maybe they're gonna show up for one mission. Maybe we're gonna see some other Marvel heroes in Spider-Man 3. We know that this is a lived-in world. There are plenty of Easter eggs that give us that information. I mean, hell, there's an Avengers Tower, but you gotta wonder, are they going to take it a step further? Could we see some other Marvel heroes show up in Spider-Man 3? Especially now that we know this universe is getting bigger. The Wolverine game is in the same universe as the Spider-Man games. And then, of course, you know, there was also the big Easter egg hunt from the community for that building that looked like it belonged to the Hand. Everyone was like, what is this? Are we going to get Daredevil in a DLC? Are they going to do something like that? There was all this stuff too that was happening with Nelson and Murdoch's sign going away and them having an eviction notice, but then maybe they paid their rent and they got their building back. So who knows? Are they going to do something with the Hand in future games? Are they going to have Daredevil maybe show up in Marvel Spider-Man 3? Brian Intar was doing a lot of teasing with Daredevil stuff as well around the time that Spider-Man 2 had launched. So you gotta wonder, are they really going big? Are they going all out with this next game? And yeah, I just talked about it, the post-credit scene for Marvel Spider-Man 2. This is one of the biggest teases for the next game. Norman Osborn goes to visit his old pal Otto Octavius in prison, and he says, hey, listen, I'm gonna need your help killing Spider-Man. He asks what Otto is writing, and well, it seems as though Octavius is writing the final chapter, which might be what the next game is called. Spider-Man 3, the final chapter, has a good ring to it. So obviously, in some way, shape, or form for Marvel Spider-Man 3, we're gonna see Doc Ock teaming up with Norman Osborn, who presumably is gonna become the Green Goblin. You know, there was obviously a hint towards the end of the game as well that he was trying to save Harry, and he was going to use something known as the G serum. Is G for green or is G for goblin? I don't think that they're going to turn Harry into the Green Goblin. I think it would be a little weird to have back-to-back games where Harry is the main villain. You know, he was just Venom, so I think it would be better if they just went with the route of Norman becoming the Green Goblin. And I do think that a lot of that is going to be because maybe Harry does inevitably succumb to his wounds, to his illness, and it just drives Norman insane. How Doc Ock gets involved in all of this, I guess we're gonna have to wait and see, but it is gonna be interesting to see the two of them teaming up, considering how much they kind of hate each other. And it's also gonna be interesting to see, like, how can Doc Ock even really do anything considering, you know, his condition. I guess we're gonna have to wait and see. Can you imagine if they did something with Carnage there and we got like a modern version of Monster Ock? That would be crazy. And then yeah, you know, the very end credit scene that we got for the game gave us a huge hint, and that is the introduction of one Cindy Moon, aka Silk. Now, it's a very different version of the character. Cindy Moon looks to be a lot younger than from what we saw of the character in the comic books. And I also don't know how exactly they're going to fold in the idea of having 3 people in one world that have been bitten by a radioactive spider that then gave them powers. So we'll see how they're going to be able to pull all that off. And you never know, they might not even do Silk right away in Marvel Spider-Man 3. They might actually just make it so that like she gets her powers by the end of the game, and then boom, we get the Silk spinoff game. Or maybe we get like a Spider-Man Miles Morales 2 where we see her become Silk in that game. And now we do have some quotes from the actors that play both Peter and Miles. I've made videos on this before, but they have talked about Marvel Spider-Man 3 and some of their thoughts on the game. With Yuri Lowenthal, when talking to the Direct, he mentions here in a quote, "There are very few things that I could talk about this game, but you have somehow landed on the one thing that I can answer, and that's that yes, Peter is not gone. He will be part of the next game, and he won't be relegated to the couch, I promise." This was in response to, you know, the end of the game where he kind of gives Miles a hug and say, hey, you know, I need to take a break. You got this. People were thinking that that was, you know, Peter retiring. I think it was crazy to assume that, but yeah, Yuri Lowenthal is saying that's not going to be the case. Peter's going to be in the next game. Najee Jeter had some things to say to the Direct as well in regards to this. He says, Miles is always going to need Peter Parker, no matter what it is. He's kind of like his Yoda, so he's always going to need his wisdom and his guidance, no matter how the world may turn. Also, good guys always need a break sometimes. You never know what will happen. The world is crazy out there. So if it needs both of our assistance, then we will show up. But if my big bro needs a breather, Miles is ready to go. So yeah, once again, you know, just furthering what we already should have known, but I guess a lot of people went a little crazy and got upset at that end of the game moment where we all thought, or at least they thought, that Peter was going to retire. That's not going to be the case. Both Najee Jeter, the voice of Miles Morales, and Yuri Lowenthal, the voice of Peter Parker, are exclaiming that's not going to be the case. And the last thing that I wanted to talk about in regards to Marvel Spider-Man 3 is really some speculation. When do we think this game is going to come out? And the easy answer is to look at the release schedule, right? The first Spider-Man game came out in 2018. The second game came out in 2023, 5 years of development, so Spider-Man 3 could look like it's going to release in 2028, which is honestly not that far away. I am going to be first in line to cover that game for you guys whenever the time comes for us to get more information. I'm really looking forward to seeing what Insomniac is going to do next. We got Wolverine as our little buffer in between, so we still have a lot to look forward to. And with that being said, let me now kick it to you guys. Sound off with your thoughts in the comment section below. Is there anything that I might have missed that has been kind of hinted at or teased for Marvel Spider-Man 3? And of all the things that we kind of know are being set up for the next game, what are you most excited about? Sound off with your thoughts in the comments. I've been Caboose. I'll see you guys later.